Welcome to the Heal Deal podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Leona Allen, and I have another amazing conversation for you today, especially if you've ever felt like you're doing all the things right, but still not seeing the results. Today, I'm joined by functional medicine expert and metabolic typing coach, Martin Pytela. His journey is nothing short of transformational. After years of suffering from unexplained health issues, including allergies, back pain, and severe fatigue, he discovered that the root cause was mercury toxicity from dental fillings. When no one else had answers, he took healing into his own hands. Now, after coaching over 12,000 clients and teaching more than 60,000 students, Martin is here to share how you can restore your energy, reset your mindset, and learn how to eat in a way that honors your unique metabolic type. We'll talk about 4 hidden causes of disease, why healthy food might be hurting you, and how trauma and stagnation might be standing in the way of your healing. This episode is packed with truth, clarity, and hope. So go ahead and grab your pen and paper, grab your iPad if you're new school, and let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Heal Deal podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Leona Allen, and I'm here to help you achieve more freedom in your health and your life. I'm the founder of Freedom Health Systems, and I've been a licensed chiropractor and wellness coach for over 2 decades. I've helped men, women, and children transform their lives by removing the physical, chemical, and emotional barriers to natural healing. Every week, I'll be taking you on a journey where you will discover the real truth behind what it takes to heal your mind, body, and soul. Allow me to be your guide as you travel this road to renewed health and a new life. It's time to make a deal with yourself to heal yourself. Please keep in mind that this podcast is for educational purposes only and not to be used as a replacement for medical diagnosis or treatment. With that said, let's begin. Martin Pytela, welcome. I'm so excited to have you as a guest here today on the Heal Deal podcast. And we're going to go ahead and jump right in because you have an amazing story to tell. I know your journey start with a unexplained health crisis. So let's go ahead and let the audience know who you are and your background story before we go into the topic today.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. Today, today I'm a health engineer. I run 2 businesses. One manufactures superfoods and nutritionals, and the other one helps people understand how their body breaks down and why. It's the chronic, degenerative, histamine mediated, long term decline that our society is just breaking down with. And it's the how did we get here? So that's today, right? Back when, 25-year-old, 50 years ago, I walked into a dentist's office with a fresh new dental insurance in hand, which they said, "Do you have insurance?" And I said, "Yes, I do." I was so excited. I didn't know that having insurance is really the worst thing you could have because the customer is divorced from the cost of doing things and understanding what's about to happen. Well, anyway, so there they were. They said yes. I said yes to the insurance. They took x-rays and sold me a story that my teeth were just not up to it and they needed a whole lot of pavement. And they said, well, we have 2 kinds of fillings. One is silver, the other one is white. And I said, well, what's the difference? And they said, well, the silver ones will last twice as long, like 20 years, and the white ones will cost you extra. And I said, any other difference? No, no, otherwise it's the same. Well, they said, I'm not vain. I'll take the fillings with the silver shine to them.
You know, one thing you said that was significant about your story, and I know I'll let you share more, but I had to say it. And I want people to understand this one. When you said how sometimes insurance can limit you, I know this is not what the podcast is about, but you triggered something in me when you said that, because of the limitations and stuff. And I know that had a lot to do with your journey moving forward. So I just made a note of that, of why sometimes this insurance, and maybe you could share it in your talk, but talk about how the insurance can sometimes hurt you more than help you.
Yeah, these days, the insurance companies control what's known as the standard of care. They actually tell the practitioners who are with a particular specific plan what they will cover and what they will not cover. And so they essentially put handcuffs on the healthcare provider as to what actually will get done. And so, regardless of how smart or aware or creative that health provider is, they're actually tied to your insurance company. And that really is a very small box. In my years of getting better, pretty much everything that was covered by insurance was making me worse, and things that I did that had to make me better, I had to pay for by cash. That's about the bottom line of it now.
So you can almost say part of your health crisis was the coverage you had, because in your bio you talked about this silent health crisis, and the doctors were really getting to the root cause of that.
Yeah.
So can you
Yeah.
share a little bit more about that journey and how it led
Well,
you to where you are today?
the beginning was definitely iatrogenic, which is a fancy Greek word for caused by the medical care you got. Because what they didn't tell me is that mercury is the most toxic things that you can put into a human body. They didn't tell me that the silver fillings were actually mercury silver amalgam, and that the mercury that they shipped to the office was coming in a hazardous material box, and the garbage that they were collecting was also shipped back as hazardous material. And somehow magically you put it in the mouth and becomes just fine. Well, heck no, it wasn't just fine. Mercury does terrible things in the body. It just wrecks your physiology. And the main impact is on tissues, cells, protein assembly, so connective tissues and whatnot. And as the body struggles with trying to get rid of it and fails, it sequesters. It hides the stuff in low circulation tissues. So it goes out of your blood quickly, away from important organs to fat, cartilage, joints, bones, out of the way. So, sure enough, it was affecting me in the structural way.
Wow. So I wanted to make sure I understood it correctly, because I don't know what I had in my mind, that he had health issues before the mercury toxicity. But you went to the dentist, you got the mercury fillings, then you had the health crisis, but it wasn't
Oh, yeah.
addressed or understood. Got
Oh, yeah.
it. Got it.
No,
Okay.
no, they broke me. I was a strong 24-year-old and a broken 26-year-old.
And you
It
said
was,
50 years ago? Did you say 50 years
mhm.
ago? So
Well, I was
you're
born in 1952, so this was
okay.
1977.
You look great. I had to calculate.
Well,
Like, wait a
now
minute. Did you say 50?
you see, now I do what I preach, right? Now I practice metabolic typing and I eat to my metabolic and endocrine type, and I exercise and I manage the four avenues that cause a lot of illness. And you mentioned it. Let's just throw it on the table. Toxicity is one. We started about that. Malnutrition is the other. Toxicity is all about getting stuff into your body that should never be there. Malnutrition is not getting stuff that should be coming and isn't. And stagnation is another horrendous thing, which is we humans are designed for work, for hunting, for just moving all the time against resistance. And the 21st century lifestyle, it's mostly sedentary. So we don't do well with that. And the fourth one is trauma, and that can come in various ways, whether it's electromagnetic frequencies that are hitting you invisibly, or whether it's your own thoughts or things you see, hear. There's all kinds of stuff that falls under the invisible but impactful that happens to us.
Are you doing everything right, but still battling fatigue, brain fog, and weight that just won't budge? Here's the truth. It's not your willpower, it's your metabolism, and I can show you exactly how to fix it. I just released a free breakthrough training that reveals why 88% of Americans are metabolically broken and the three-phase system that reverses it. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start seeing real results, go to beginhealingtoday.com. Again, that's beginhealingtoday.com, and you'll also find this link in the description. Now, back to the episode. Okay, so we got those four things. So here we are. I love the journey. I love the story behind it because you don't look like what you've been through. You look absolutely incredible.
It was so funny because, of course, I had no clue. Right, my education is I took a school back in Europe, and it was business administration and computer science. So I was here to do business consulting, and I did work that for 25 years. I switched to being a health coach back in 2003. So until then, I was in the information technology and I was wondering what's going on. And I did not really desire to learn all of that health stuff, but I was forced to. The fillings went in four sets, one quadrant at a time. And after the first one, I had a herpes breakout. Weird, right? After the second one, I had a detox flu that just laid me down for 2 weeks. After about a month in, my back went out. First time ever. And then carpal tunnel syndrome came in, and plantar fasciitis came in. I didn't know, right? Like this was all the general decline. Like I was falling apart. Later, I got gum recession, periodontal disease, allergies, all kinds of stuff. Like I was really in a bad way. Just to illustrate, right? I would when my back would go out, it would be so significant that I would have to crawl, not walk. I couldn't walk. It was out. And so I would sleep face down on a recliner. Um, I would roll off of it, crawl to the toilet, do my business, crawl back. It took a few days. My wife was somehow get me to a chiropractor to put me back together, and it took a while to get me back in. The worst of it was this. I dealt with some really skilled people and they would put me back together, but in a day or two or three, sometimes just on the way home from the adjustment, I'd feel it. Oh, it's out again. And the reason it's out is this: Mercury, as it weakens the tissues, the worst it does is on the discs. And if you could visualize the disc, it's sort of, well, visualize a car. Car is on an underinflated tire, and all of a sudden, instead of being straight, the tire starts bulging out. And as you're driving on it, it's wobbling. It's not holding together. Well, that's the sort of thing. Gravity, vertebrae, and discs in between. And so as you press on the disc, it just pushes out, starts affecting the nerves and whatnot, and it's very unstable. So that's was going on with me, where I would over and over lose the adjustment.
Yeah. And this was all happening. Was this happening before you realized that you had to get into these pillars of health, or was this going on during the healing?
Oh no, no. So for yeah, I was fully indoctrinated into trusting the professionals, right? So I would go in to the orthopedic surgeon with my plantar fasciitis. He gave me a cortisone shot, and for 6 weeks I could walk. And after 6 weeks, it wore off, and I was in miserable pain right again. With the chiropractor again, they'd put me back together, but in out and out. So I think about 6, 7 years in, I finally had this. Come on, you have to study this yourself. You're gonna have to figure it out. That's when I mean, this is probably 1984, five. thereabouts. So this was before the internet. So we're libraries and books, and I started reading a lot, and it eventually came through. One day I was reading some paper where it said mercury will affect your structural integrity, and then another paper that was mercury silver amalgam fillings. That's how long it took, years before the light went on. I was not connecting one to the other, and I had done a hair trace mineral analysis long ago, like maybe 2 years in, and it came up high with mercury, but I didn't connect that to anything. I didn't know how it was affecting me physiologically, and I didn't know where it was coming from. So eventually I figured it out, and I started doing research, and then how do you get mercury out of the human body? And luckily, I was living in um, outside of the metropolitan areas, so I had to do my own thing. So I found that zeolite was such a thing. Zeolite is an awesome binder. It binds the toxic metals. It takes not only mercury but lead, cadmium, arsenic, and volatile organic compounds and all kinds of stuff. It's a great binder and gets it out of the body. So that's what was my first step, get it out. And then I found a chiropractor who designed an essential amino acid product. Because when you're broken, your gut gets bad and you stop extracting essential aminos from foods effectively. So you need to now compensate for that. And so that's what I fell upon. It was called, what was it called? Platinum Plus Amino Acids, Dr. Bryce Vickery. He's since passed away and his company just went out of business. But we still have access to the same recipe, so we have it available. So there you have it, right? So I had to reach the rock bottom. I mean, I had to face my own demise. Mercury is awful. It also makes you really dark mood. I had to put it. I was quite suicidal at times. Yeah. Not that I wanted to quit, but I was going to sleep with the thought is, I wish I'd not wake up in the morning. It was like that.
Yeah, and that's what people need to realize because there's so many people out there dealing with autoimmune disease, emotional, emotional imbalances, and they have no idea that they have mercury that could be attributed to their mercury fillings. And another thing, when you said suicidal, isn't that like you probably know this in your research about Mad Hatter's disease, and they got
Hmm.
it because they were the ones actually probably using incorrect words, but mining mercury. They were exposed to it on a daily
I don't
basis.
know. No, no, these were milliners. These were people making hats. And treatment
Okay.
of felt was done with mercury, and they were inhaling a lot of the mercury vapors. And you were as mad as a hatter because you were being poisoned, or the hatters were being poisoned by the mercury that they worked with.
I'm glad you cleared that up. I messed that up. But
Yeah.
yeah, I knew it
Well,
was
guess,
related somehow.
well, guess which profession has the highest suicide rate about all the professionals?
I think I know this one. Dentists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Very unfortunate.
Yeah. Oh well, so there we are. Okay, so it was the going away from the standard medical approach toward the functional medicine approach, because my biggest gripe and complaint with all of the years of treatments that I've had was that they never asked what is the cause of that. That was my consultant training that led me through that. In business consulting, the first thing you ask is, can we measure it? And the second you ask, what is the cause here? That was not on the table in the medical system. They just take a look at your whatever is coming and say, oh, symptom A, treatment B, 1-to-1 relationship. They treat, they don't resolve the problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Because there's more money in treating the problem and not the solution or the root cause, unfortunately.
Yeah, I must have spent $100,000 in chiropractic.
That's kind of how I got into the nutritional work because I am a licensed chiropractor. And I'm like, man, people aren't holding their adjustments. Like, why are they getting better? And then when I
Yes.
started getting into the nutritional and metabolic health aspect, people needed less adjustments. They started holding their adjustments better. They didn't, it was just phenomenal. And that's why I do both actually, because, sometimes that back pain might not always be a physical problem, it may be chemical, the things we're going to get into. It might be toxicity, it might be malnutrition, it might be stagnation, it might be trauma. So, I mean, this is just fascinating how it's all tying in. I just pray that someone is like struggling, like, man, I'm doing all the things, I'm eating right, I'm exercising, I'm going to the sauna. Why do I not feel well? And they can have a mouthful of mercury and no one's telling them, hey, it could be that. Because actually I have an autoimmune client and a lot of times, not just mercury, but the root canals and all the stuff that they're doing to our teeth can trigger a lot of illnesses, especially autoimmune. So we need to really look into these things. So with that said, this is a good segue into that. I mean, you went through a lot, about a decade, I guess, until you started looking into some solutions. And what I want you to really address as you go into this metabolic typing, because I want people to understand, oh, it's not just take zeolite and that's going to fix all your problems overnight. I know there's a journey to this. So, can you share the journey as you
Yeah.
share
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
metabolic typing? First,
Well,
tell us what the metabolic typing is, okay?
right.
I know I'm
Yeah.
saying a lot, but go ahead.
Yeah. One interesting thing about me, right? My genetics are with the MTHFR. So I'm a very poor methylator. And as a poor methylator, I don't detox well. Some people are great methylators and they will have a toxic event and it's no big deal. Their body will manage it. Mine, not so much. So that's the genetics, that's the inputs, that's the starting point. But as far as what you're asking, so metabolic typing is a discipline, a method put out by William Walcott. He published a book in 1987, and that was at the back end of he being the administrator for William O'Kelly, who was teaching people or showing people how they can repair themselves through food. And the main trickery is this: there are two metabolic types. Like you could be left handed or right handed, or you could be straight hair or curly hair. You will have a dominance. And there's the oxidizer and the autonomic. It's just a label. The oxidizer is getting more alkaline with fats and proteins and more acidic with carbohydrates. And the autonomic is the inverse or reverse, more alkaline with carbs and more acidic with fats and proteins. And a lot of books long ago in the natural hygiene and all of that were written as if everyone were the autonomic. They would declare loudly, proteins are acidifying you and carrot juice will alkalize you. It's not the true for oxidizers. It's backwards. So here's what happens. When you alkalize a person, they go toward getting up late. They're kind of jovial, friendly, emotionally healthy, but procrastinate. And then if you alkalize them some more, they go into despondence, like dark, hopeless kind of moods. And further on out lives depression, like pull the blanket over their head and I'm not getting up today. Leave me alone. Now, acidity is different. Acidity wakes you up early. It's connected to excitement, but to impatience. And then if you go even more into acidity, you start losing your social graces, interrupting others, impolite, elbows up, get out of my way, I'll do it myself. That sort of thing.
I'm
And then
giggling because I'm trying to place myself. But go ahead. I'll tell you what I
and
think
so
I am.
further on out in the acidity lives road rage if it's externally expressed, right? Like if you push it externally, then you're angry with the world and you're attacking. But if it's internally directed, you're now into anxiety and you will be reliving your past with regrets. I should have that and I shouldn't have this and whatnot. Or you're catastrophizing the future. You're just dwelling and mulling and thinking what's coming. And it's all doom and gloom. And all the way out, is schizophrenia. Like that's way out there in super acidity. But so here, visualize this. Most of you may have had a college experience or at least high school experience where you get into alcohol. So visualize that's a carbohydrate. So visualize a party and they're serving drinks, and one group, the autonomic, on the first drink they get a little less stiff, start being a little looser, talk more. Then they start oversharing. They just say things that they would normally not say. And then they realize they've done it and they start crying about something. Maybe that. And then further on out, if they take too many drinks, they'll fall asleep because alkalinity shuts you down and you sleep. The oxidizers are different. They first become louder, then they become disagreeable, then they pick a fight, maybe verbal, and if they keep drinking, they'll pick a physical fight, and they cannot shut it down. If you keep drinking as an oxidizer, it will keep you awake all night and on and on and on. Keep going. All
I'm
right.
just like all these faces are popping in my head. Like that was an oxidizer. That was an
Right
alkaline.
on. Okay.
Is the oxidizer the acidic one?
Well, the oxidizer will be get acidified by alcohol or other starches. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So now you are a normal person and you will take a meal. And so the meal will be starch, fat, and protein. So let's just start with a potato. That's all starch. Butter and sour cream is the fat, and the bacon bits is the protein. So if you start with a meal that's going to be that's pushing on both sides, right? That's one foot on the brake, one foot on the gas. Yeah, I should come back further. So some people wake up acidic, some people wake up alkaline. The acidic people wake up early and in gear and ready to go. And if that's an oxidizer, you make them more pleasant and less disagreeable with fats and proteins. So to them, the ideal breakfast will be eggs with bacon or sausage or something like that. That's the kind of breakfast that will slow them down. Whereas the other group, the autonomic, who wakes up acidic, they need to be made normal with carbohydrates. So their breakfast needs to be fruit or porridge or something carby. Otherwise, they remain acidic, disagreeable, argumentative, horribly unpleasant drivers cutting you off in traffic and stuff like that.
Okay. So I want to make sure the listeners following us here. So we got two types of people, the oxidizer and the autonomic, but
Yeah,
both of them can wake up either alkaline or acidic. So you
yeah,
can have an oxidizer that wakes up alkaline or an oxidizer that wakes up acidic.
yeah,
Okay, I want to
yeah.
make sure I understood that
Let
because
me
I was,
let me repeat that so it gets clear. So with
yeah.
the oxidizers, we have two types. One we call fast oxidizer, and they wake up acidic, and we have a slow oxidizer. They wake up alkaline.
Okay.
So if an oxidizer is too alkaline, you need to push stuff that will make them less alkaline, which is starch. So the slow oxidizer, you need to feed them an apple to get them to be less pissy in the morning. Whereas if your child is a fast oxidizer and you give him a bowl of cereal, he will become an absolute monster.
That makes sense. Okay.
All right. So now the other ones in the autonomic, we have two types. We call sympathetic dominant, the other one parasympathetic dominant, and it's the same story, except the tools are reversed, right? So the sympathetic needs to be fed starchy things to be less ornery, and the parasympathetic needs to be fed fats or proteins to get them out of their funk.
This is okay. Yeah, all right. I'm gonna just put myself out there. I think I'm autonomic.
Yeah,
Okay.
because alcohol puts
And
you to sleep, right?
yeah, I when I wake up, I'll wake up early because I have to,
But not
but I have
not
a
that you
slow
want
start.
to.
Right. I'll choose to, because I get more
Yeah,
done. So I have to
right,
make
right.
myself wake up. So
Okay.
I should be eating more fats and protein in the
So the
morning.
emotional balancing diet for you would be more fat and protein. Yeah.
Okay. I
Well,
thought I usually don't eat at all. Or I'll at least do a coffee. I do a coffee in the morning with fat in it.
that's
So
an interesting.
and that gets me going. It's
Mhm.
like is that why after I have my coffee, I feel pretty good?
All right. Well, let's just throw in the other thing that we know.
Oh,
The other thing that we look at as the metabolic typing is the endocrine dominance, and of which we have three for men and an extra one for women, and that would be thyroid, adrenal, and pituitary. And I mean, we all have the three glands, but in each one of us, one has the upper hand. And the thyroid types are tempted by carbohydrates, but they gain weight that way. So the thyroid type will gravitate toward donuts and cakes as pacifiers, but will gain weight. And they'll gain weight primarily on their belly, all around the belly button. Like the beer gut is a thyroid bane. The and they tend to be slender arms, slender wrists, slender ankles, and in in a bad way, they'll look like an apple on sticks, right? Big gut and skinny legs. The adrenal dominant ones, they tend to be built more like a weightlifter. Like, okay, so like in women, for example, the thyroid type, that would be the Victoria's Secret models, all of them, you know, skinny legs and just built for length. Whereas the adrenal dominant, they'll be built like, look at Simone Biles, for example, if you can think of a fine example of an adrenal. Massive muscles, massive ankles, lots of strength, explosive force. Now she will gain weight with fats and lose weight on salads, whereas the adrenal types will lose weight on a keto diet, eating fat and not carb. And the pituitary, they tend to be built like the ultimate nerds. The, the head tends to be bigger than what you would expect to the body. They will have even distribution of fat all across from top down, sort of like a Pillsbury Doughboy or Cabbage Patch doll.
I love the visuals. I'm just cracking up over here.
Yeah.
But we gotta
Well,
have fun with
there's
this.
this variety among us, right? And
Yeah.
if you do the wrong thing, you will accentuate the negative parts, and you will lose the positive parts, right? Like the adrenal types are awesome at building muscle mass as long as they exercise.
Right.
The the thyroid types, they're not so quick at building muscles. They tend to be not as deep in the chest, right? Like the adrenal types will have a chest yay big, like a barrel. The thyroid types will be kind of flat. Anyway, so all this to be known. So if you happen to be a fast oxidizer thyroid, you're going to be a really happy, skinny person. because you'll be eating a high fat diet. Brie cheese for breakfast and steak for lunch and more fat something for dinner. But if you put yourself on the Italian diet, you'll be a miserable overweight human. You will go keep going, right? Because you will end up overeating calories and you will just be way out there, too big. Okay, now why is this, right? Let's ask why this is, because this is
Okay, why is
important.
this? But this is absolutely fascinating. So you can
So,
go ahead
so
and
it
just
starts
talk.
it starts with your ancestors, right? Up to maybe 300-400 years ago, our ancestors lived in their indigenous environments. Like visualize, I don't know, somebody living, say, in Switzerland. A kid is born, the year is 1210, kid is born in Switzerland. He's going to be fed aged cheese, rye bread, cabbage, mainly made into sauerkraut. Once a week, they'll kill a chicken, and in the winter, they'll kill the pig. And they do that in the winter because that's when it's cold and the thing will last longer. Now, contrast that with some kid born in North Africa, a Bedouin village, an oasis. They're feeding him dates, figs, pomegranates, chickpeas, and camel milk. Now, do another contrast. Born in Norway, way away from the equator, the growing season is 90 days old at most. Right? So there's a very short season when you have some berries available. Otherwise, you're catching fish. You're living on dried cod and salmon and maybe some reindeer meat. Clear, right? So you cannot transplant. Okay, let's just pitch in something from, say, sub-Saharan Africa. Like a lot of people with African heritage were snatched from the Senegal, Ivory Coast area. They lived coastal. They lived among coconut palms, catching tropical fish and tropical birds. So they ate birds, eggs, coconuts, and whatnot. There was not a wheat field in sight. There was no cow dairy anywhere. Right. So different genetics, different box. There was an awesome example of this. Weston O. Price, a dentist, went traveling around the world in the 1930s and came back with, so long as you eat your indigenous diet, you will be healthy. When you eat the industrial diet, you will start getting illness in your, well, cavities and degenerative disease, crowding of the teeth because the arch of the jaw will be getting smaller, and a bunch of other things that he listed as problems. That we know. As long as you eat indigenous, your ancestors' food, you're good. When you don't, not so much.
And that makes complete sense because I've been like practicing for over 20 years doing nutrition. And I kind of found out by trial and error what worked for me. I can thrive in the tropical diet. But if I recommend that to someone of European descent, it's like totally different results. And I kind of found that out by trial and error. So I've just learned over time, based on how they're built, their blood work, what would work and what wouldn't. Because everybody's out there trying to do the same thing. Everybody's trying to do keto. Everybody's trying to be vegan. But I've been saying this for years. It's not for everybody. It won't
No,
work for you.
no, no, not at all. People whose ancestry is tropical, like Philippines or Malaysia or India or thereabouts, where you have 365 days of easy access to plant food, it's easy to be a vegetarian. Sure, eat all the fruit you can get your hands on because you're genetically predisposed to that. Yeah,
This is this is incredible. I know this is gonna free some people up
yeah,
hopefully, we'll talk about some resources, but I'm assuming you got a place where people can see this broken down somewhere so
right.
they can see where they fit in
Uh huh.
because
Well,
I
you can
love this
figure,
type of stuff.
yeah, You can figure it out by trial and error, and
Mhm.
you found your sweet spot, right? Like your own story, right? Like you were so mismanaged by the society because they taught you just about everything wrong about food,
Mhm.
and you had to relearn, and you had to find your way,
Exactly.
and you're living your best life doing your thing. Not,
Right.
I mean, if you stayed eating Italian food, you'd be a miserable person.
Absolutely. I cannot handle the pasta, the breads. I can't do it.
No,
And
because
if I do, it has to be fermented, it has to be made a certain way.
yeah, yeah.
Fermented foods, like, I think with my DNA, the fermented foods work phenomenally with me as well. It's like my body hugs me from the inside when I eat those types of things.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
Right. So anyway, so you can tease it out by experimenting,
right.
but you need to be aware that there is such a thing. Now you can get a shortcut. We do have that. At our website, we have something called the metabolic typing test. It's actually a quiz. You answer about 120 multiple choice questions, and we'll send you back these two answers that I just mentioned. What's your endocrine dominance, which will answer how you gain weight or lose weight, or we will also answer how you alkalize and acidify, and we will also answer whether you're waking up already acidic or already alkaline. So if you could visualize the space, right, like on this screen, you could be in any one of the corners, but you would like to be closer to the middle. So the strategies that will help you get to the middle will vary, but when you're closer to the middle, you have a lot of flexibility. The total lack of flexibility is called manic depressive. Manic is when you're overly acidic, and depressive is when you are overly alkaline. And you can do that intraday. You can mess yourself up with your breakfast and your dinner.
And people need to understand this and put it together. I'll make sure I have that resource in the show notes for everybody because at least I know there's no quick fix, but at least it'll give people some kind of awareness and start thinking, hey, I have to find out what's unique for me. What's my blueprint? And these are some tools and strategies to at least get them in the right direction. Because I think a lot of people try to force what the latest fad is. Everybody's doing this. Everybody's plant based. So I'm going to be plant based too. Everybody's intermittent fasting. Well, I'm going to intermittent fast too. Because I've had people, my body thrives on intermittent fasting. But I'll have like tell somebody, hey, try it out. They'll gain weight or they'll feel miserable. So I'm just learning so many different
Yeah.
things
Well, here's an interesting
intuitively.
thing. So, for example, the endocrine dominants, the adrenal types do best when they eat hardly any breakfast.
That's
They,
me.
they can skip breakfast just fine. And then
Yep.
light lunch and dinner is the main meal of the day. Mm. The pituitary dominant, they're exactly the other way. They love a huge breakfast, medium lunch, and don't bother with the dinner. And the thyroid types, they tend to be uh, less. They have lesser reserves. They are spinning quicker, and so they need to be eating 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, about the same size with some protein each. That's the best for them. Oh, the fourth one. That's the I, what's it called? It's the dominance of the ovarian type, the estrogen drive. And what's interesting, this is driven by hot, spicy food, as in chili or Thai or East Indian or Chinese, but spicy hot. And you will meet women who are incredibly tolerant of eating hot food. And if they overdo it, they'll end up overstimulating their ovaries. So they will push more of the estrogen into the system. So they'll end up with accentuated feminine characteristics. Nicki Minaj comes to mind. Hips wider, or maybe somebody like Jennifer Lopez, right? Size
Uh-huh.
2 from waist up, size 6 from waist down, or size 10 from waist up, size 20 from waist down,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
The Kardashians do it by surgery, but you can do that with just eating hot, spicy food.
It's amazing. You could just look at bodies and be like, okay, you're eating this. Like I could look at a body and say, oh, that's a diabetic body. That's a thyroid body. But I
You
love
can
how
totally
you
do
can look at it and say, oh, too much spicy food. And it's fascinating how the body is. I love this. I'm loving this episode.
that. Yeah. All right. So there we are. So we can teach people, we can hold them by the hand, we can give them the guidance. And then, of course, then there's the living in the 21st century, which is a problematic thing because uh, I was telling you how your ancestors lived. Well, back what they called food, we now called organic, biodynamic, expensive food. Because what we have now is the industrial food that's grown on fields that are fertilized. So you have diminished mineral values, you have over sweetened. They make food in a way that makes it so much more attractive in the mouth that you'll overeat it just by design, right? There are 5 foods that I tell people that they should eliminate, and that's refined flour, refined sugar, refined salt, refined plant seed oils, and dairy that's been homogenized and pasteurized.
100%
Just
agree with that.
just put a big X.
Yes.
Don't.
Yes. That's usually the first place I start, no matter what kind of belly you have, how you wake up. Those are like stop immediately.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And then what? Well, then we start getting into the weeds, right? Then do you have the mineral balance? The fast oxidizer needs more calcium, also needs zinc and iodine and phosphorus. The slow oxidizer needs more copper than anyone else, but everybody needs some copper and some zinc. And some people need more vitamin B5, some need more B6, and so on. So we can get into the finer details of it. But if you solve the macronutrients, the carb, fat, and protein, that's like a huge part of the problem.
Yeah. And what brings you brought something else to my mind because it's like now, especially in the United States, maybe around the world, I just know where I live. It's like everybody's supposed to have the same diet. They have their recommended so many servings. I'm like, wait, this is if I followed that food pyramid, I'd be 300 pounds. You know how they have everything I like the fish, they had the fats and stuff on top and the pastas and cereals on the bottom. You know what I'm talking about? The food
Hmm.
pyramid.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's what they recommend for everybody.
Hmm. It may work out for the adrenal dominant slow oxidizer, maybe.
See? But that would
Right?
kill me. That diet would kill
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
And
You're
it
not ever.
did. It did.
Yeah, you have pictures, right? If you want to share them.
Yes, I lost like 70 pounds about 15 years ago, something like that. I lost track.
I
And it was
looked on
doing
your website.
opposite
You
of what I
show
was
it, right?
told.
Yeah, you
Huh?
showed your pictures on your website, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. It's out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Oh,
had to learn by trial and error, like kind of what you went through, just
yeah. Oh, yeah.
studying and
Oh,
learning.
my Lord,
Yeah.
girl. Yeah, you were not well. So there it is, right? That's the
There
story.
you go. It makes sense. It makes sense. So this really is going to open some eyes for a lot of people. So I
Hmm.
mean, I love what you're doing. It's absolutely
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah.
But before we close, I want to make sure we cover what we wanted to cover. But I want you to go into these four. What is it? The four types.
Do you mean the source of
The
illness?
four main. I think you did talk about it. The four main
Oh,
causes of
let's dive
disease.
into it some. Let's really highlight it. Yeah. So trauma is the one that you don't see. EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, will affect you, and your emotional health will also affect you. So if you have PTSD, you need to deal with it. It will cause you trouble. I can't cover it in this lecture, but it needs to be handled. You need to resolve it. There are methods like EFT, which stands for Emotion Freedom Technique, or neurolinguistic programming, or body talk, or emotion code. There are ways to deal with the stuff that's in the subconscious that should get resolved and can be. The electromagnetics, they're troublesome because they trigger calcium. It's called voltage gated calcium channel. So these days, if you are living in a highly electrified urban area, you may be pushed toward this anxiety set of existence without knowing that that's what's causing it. The antidote is magnesium, and then there are devices you can get that will block or countermeasure the electromagnetics. So that's one. The other one, the stagnation, let me talk about this. So, for example, your bone is mineralized when it's stressed by the muscle that's attached to the bone, and that muscle is stressing the bone only when it's being used. Resistance against gravity. So you have to be carrying things or jumping up and down or exercising in some way. Because if you don't, you lose your bone mass and you will not develop your muscle mass. And your muscle mass is the storage device for your energy. So if you don't have enough muscle mass, you will have very poor ability to deal with energy swings. And then there is stress. Stress is driven by cortisol. And when cortisol is released by your adrenals, it mobilizes you to fight or flight. And that means to mobilize a whole bunch of glucose to the muscles so that you can actually escape or confront the situation physically. So if you live in a world where you're constantly being buzzed by a stress input, like driving a car could be an example, right? Because when you're driving a car, you have to be very vigilant. What if a child jumps out? What if a car comes from the left, from the right, whatever, right? Like 360 vigilance. That's a cortisol experience, and it will deposit a whole bunch of glucose in your body, which then will be washed out using insulin onto your fat, right?
Very familiar with that one.
So
I'm the
that's
poster child. If you look up stress and cortisol, you'll see my picture.
okay. So if you are one of those, you may want to know about this cortisol ease herbal tincture that's been developed for primarily for stress relief, but it works marvelously for dealing with cortisol triggered insulin dysregulation. I had a client who was pre-diabetic, put herself on a continuous glucose monitor, and then started using the cortisol ease, and was sharing with me that she could watch the insulin numbers drifting down soon after she took the herbs because it was undoing the effects of stress.
And this is a tincture that you
Mhm.
provide. What's the name of the
Yeah,
tincture?
yeah, we make it in our
Okay.
shop. It's
Okay.
quite cool. Yeah,
All right. I want to look into that one.
yeah,
Because I could be eating perfect, I got the muscular husky body. I'm a definitely an adrenal type, but
yeah.
it's like, but I eat pretty well, but that stress kicks in.
Stress will get you. Yeah.
It just ruins everything. It doesn't matter.
Mhm. And we live in a stressy world, right? Like I'm visualizing a kid who's tempted to be playing a video game late into the night, and now they're all buzzed and cortisol all over. And now mom says, lights out, go to sleep. Well, no.
Uh-huh.
So the cortisol works marvelous, cortisol ease. works marvelously
Cortisol
well at
ease.
shutting it down, but because you can keep going until, I don't know, 10 minutes before bedtime, and then you can take a dose and it will allow you to just
Yes.
undo the load, right?
Yeah, okay.
Works for soldiers and post stress first responders and anyone who comes home just buzzed from work, right? You take it
Mm-hmm.
and it just lets you chill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so no, so I'm on the second of the four, which was the stagnation, right? Stagnation is the most negative thing happening in our society, because if exercise were a pill, it would be the most successful runaway uh, prescription that you could give people. But we're mostly lazy and don't put time into it and whatever. But I promise you that movement is guaranteed to make everyone healthier. One, I already mentioned, more muscle mass, more capacity to deal with energy, but also mitochondria, right? Mitochondria is the places where food is converted into energy. You need more muscle mass to have more of it. So if you get sick and you have poor muscle mass, you will stay sick a lot longer because you are not able to supply the energy that's required for you to get right. All right. So exercise, movement, and then there's lymphatics, right? Lymphatic system, you probably see that a lot in your practice. People don't move enough, which leads to sluggish terrain. Here's how you know. If your feet smell, or if your armpits smell, or if your crotch smells, the lymphatics have it's called lymph nodes, and they're found on the inside of most joints. So that's the elbow. This is the inside. The armpit. This is the inside. I can't show you on camera, but your inguinals, your in between your legs
Like the
around your,
thigh and yeah,
yeah, where the
that this
thigh
area.
meets the
You know what
pelvis.
I'm doing?
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
I can't show you, but it's the
Right.
V. It's the V down below,
Yes, the V. There you go.
right? That's where the lymphatics are, and they're at the back of your knee and top of your ankle. Those are the most important ones. And of course, up here and up here and up here, those are the places, right? So if they don't move, they stagnate, they putrefy, you start smelling bad. If you do, it's a warning. And if you swell, it's a warning. You're not doing well with that. So movement and massage and that sort of thing. There's a thing called dry skin brushing. You can look it up online. It's exceedingly helpful. Okay, so that's the stagnation. You want not stagnation, because if you stagnate, you're like a swamp. You're rotting on the inside.
And that get underestimated, especially as, when people get older, that movement. I'm a big movement fan. I'm addicted to exercise. I'm a mover. That's like not my issue. But people need to understand how important it is. They'll say, I'm gaining weight. I feel tired. I'm having hot flashes and all this. And I'm like, but you're not moving. Just start moving, stretching, something, and you'll feel a whole lot better. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, my number one pill for constipation is, have you done 30 minutes of walking?
Yep.
Hmm. Okay, so that. So the third one would be malnutrition, and that's eating food that's poor in nutrient density. It's already documented that food grown today in soils that are depleted through fertilization and all of that, they're just poor, nutritionally poor. And then, of course, not you, we are seduced into thinking that simple foods are okay. The salad that has four ingredients, and or pizza, right, which is carb, cheese, tomato, a pinch of oregano, and a pinch of cheese, right? Too simple. Too simple. You need a lot more variety,
I was going to
multiple.
say, there's not enough diversity in diets today. Pretty much people eating the same thing every
Mhm.
day for the most
Yeah.
part.
So that, and then of course the different types that I mentioned. You may need more of this vitamin or this mineral or whatever. Those all need to come in, but the nutrient density is definitely lacking in most foods that you buy today. So you need to supplement.
I was going to add in, but people are like, well, I'm deficient. So they're going to supplement with synthetic vitamins, thinking they're doing something. They're not realizing that that's not the solution all the time either, especially depending on where you get your supplements.
Well, like this, for example. So if you're a poor methylator, and a lot of Europeans are, but many people, I think about 40% of Americans are somewhere on the scale of poor methylator. You can be um, a little bit or a whole lot or catastrophically bad, right? So somewhere in there. Um, if you are eating foods that are labeled fortified or enriched, you're eating foods that are enriched by folic acid, which is a invention. You are supposed to be eating folate, which is the greenery found in leaves. Folic acid is a simulation, but it's technically chemical, and if you're a poor methylator, you will not be able to process it.
I
If
learned
you're
that recently, actually.
okay, so
Yeah,
if
I
you're
was
looking,
training. I was like, "Oh my goodness." Yep, you're
yeah,
so right about that.
yeah.
Yep.
So if you're looking at an ADHD kid, you're probably looking at somebody who has the poor methylation and refined flour on their list of get rid of this. Yeah, there could be more to the diet. We could talk about that in
And we
detail.
could go on and on and on, but I think what we accomplish is giving people the complexity of healing. I mean,
Yeah,
you
let
started
me.
off with your
Yeah,
story. Go ahead. You want to say something?
give me one more minute about the toxicity.
Okay, go ahead, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, toxicity is living in an aquarium that's been poisoned. Okay, we are doing that to the planet. The industrial age kicked off about 1775, got really going in about 1820. And first it was coal burning, and then the liquid stuff burning, and then came plastics, and then came fertilizers and herbicides and pesticides. All of this is coming into the same aquarium, and it's raising the level of toxicity. So a person who grew up in the 1950s has been exposed to less of it than a kid that's growing up now. And what happens is if you don't bind it out of the body, it blocks normal function. We call it blocking factors, but it's essentially the stuff that is preventing the homeostatic, the self-healing, self-management expression of the cells to do their job. And so fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides, you'll find it in your air, your water, your food, your clothing, your cosmetics, all of that stuff you need to, especially if you have one of those illnesses. Well, let me just give you a list. Histamine mediated, which means it's inflammatory. It could be high blood pressure, it could be pre-diabetes, diabetes, it could be cancer, it could be fibromyalgia or any of its little cousins like Sjogren's and Hashimoto's, and I don't know. There are about 200 specific named conditions, each of which are named by geography, but they're broadly caused by high level of toxicity in the environment that's blocking your body from working right. So look at that.
I think I did some research as well recently, and it said that we're exposed to about 700,000 chemicals per day.
Yeah,
Per
it's frightful.
day.
It's frightful. The
Yes.
worst, the worst ones are these. You put chlorine in water to kill pathogenic bacteria. It actually kills all microbes. So when you drink chlorinated water, you're poisoning yourself within. Glyphosate, or Roundup, was originally patented as an antibiotic. It kills a plant by killing the microbes. So when you eat food that has trace amount of glyphosate in it, which these days is all wheat that's not organic, it's wheat, corn, lentils, chickpeas, all of those, if they're not organic, you can bet, tick mark, it's got glyphosate on it. That will also kill the microbe within, which will impair your ability to extract nutrients from the foods you eat. So you will be malnourished just by virtue of killing off the inner terrain. And then pharmaceutical drugs do that, and alcohol does that, and
It doesn't stop. That's why it's hard. People want it easy, that quick fix. But I'm like, I tell people to be real with them. It's challenging to be healthy today, but you got to be, it's possible we can heal, but you have to
yeah.
be very intentional. Like you said at the beginning of this episode, you have to be very intentional with all this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add with the story? I mean, I know we could go on and on, but
Yeah,
I
we
know
could.
you said toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, and trauma. So not only, because I know a lot of times, to kind of summarize, like with your journey and my journey, and what a lot of people are searching for is like
Yeah.
they want to lose weight, they want to get better, but the first thing they say is eat right, exercise. But now you understand, okay, oh, which type are you? How are you going to eat? Because some
Yeah.
people
Know,
are
know
trying
why.
to do this and do that, eat less
Yeah.
sugar, eat less, I mean,
Yeah.
like you got the five that you mentioned that works across the board, but
Mm-hmm.
then there's different types of diets so that we
Yeah.
need to address. But you were going to say
Well,
something, I'm
but
sorry.
let me give you some bits of science. So there's this concept called glycemic index, which measures how something converts towards glucose. So glucose is 100. Starchy things like white rice, white potato, wheat flour are also 100 because starch converts into glucose at full scale. Um, HFCS, high fructose corn syrup, is an 87. Sucrose, as in sugar, is a 70. So, interestingly enough, in your cake, the thing that's more dangerous to your health, not emotional, um, metabolic health, is the flour in the cake. That's more dangerous than the sugar.
I was
And
going to make a point. Yeah, I was going to make a point. People are like, I'm not eating candy anymore, but they're eating rice cakes and organic muffins
yeah, right.
or
Yeah,
gluten-free muffins,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Gluten-free organic muffin. The
And they're like,
epitome,
why am I not losing weight? There
the
you go.
epitome of I'm doing it all wrong. Like organic junk food, all in
Right.
one.
It, it is confusing by design, but this is why I have you here on this show.
All right, yeah. So that sort of thing. Um,
Yes, yes.
mm, yeah. So interestingly enough, it's less dangerous to drink sodas that are sweetened with sugar, real sugar, compared to the HFCS,
Artificial
high fructose
sweeteners.
corn syrup.
Oh, yeah, and high fructose corn syrup. Yeah,
And it's even less dangerous than the ones that are sweetened with artificial sweeteners like
yeah.
sucralose, because that's actually a
Mhm.
neurotoxin that's going
Yep.
to cause all kinds of dysregulation. People just don't realize how the word diet on their drink is actually the first three letters count more.
Ooh, yes. Uh-huh.
Diet.
Red flag. Yeah, exactly. Die it. Yeah, I love that. But yeah, it's so true. It's so like we're so confused and it's like, oh, like what do you recommend now? Like, okay, someone's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I've just been doing everything wrong. Maybe that's why when I was plant-based, I gained all this weight. I gave up the fat and the cholesterol because they told me it was bad. I know that's going on in my listener's mind. So, like, to kind of summarize everything that we have talked about, what would you recommend so they're not feeling overwhelmed? What are some like key things you would say this is where you can start?
All right, let's start with your biology, your unique biological makeup rules. You are different. I mean, there are similarities. Most people from the same tribe will be destined to be eating the similar diet, but not all of them will be the same ratios. Okay? Some of us need to eat fat to calm down. Some of us need to eat starch to calm down. If you're going to eat starch, it needs to be wholesome, not refined. If you're going to be eating fat, it can be animal fat. It should not be plant seed oil, especially not deep fried plant seed oil. There are foods that harm you, directly harm you. So there are all these different ways, right?
Even those
Lower
organic corn chips,
lower
right?
temperature cooking is healthier than high temperature cooking.
Right,
So the
right.
worst foods you can give yourself is a barbecued, deep fried corn chip. Yeah,
That's what I was gonna say, like, you get that was my thing. I did the organic corn chips and salsa, but when they're made, I believe they are using those seed oils and all that stuff. Now they're
yeah.
trying to trick us with the avocado oils and and the
Well,
coconut oil chips.
okay. So of oils, the good ones are the animal fats, believe it or not, and then there is coconut oil, palm oil, olive oil, and avocado oils, and they're good because they're seed oils. No, let me restate that. They're fruit oils. They're from the body of the fruit, not from the seed of the whatever. Okay. So the seed oils, such as canola and safflower, sunflower, cottonseed, those are the ones that you need to worry about.
Right. So if you see some chips that are avocado oil chips,
Well, they're less awful. They're still carb, and they're still
still in
high
moderation.
and they're
Okay,
still
got it.
high temperature, right?
But if you had got that desire, just better to go with that, but in moderation. Because I know some people are gonna be like, "But what if?" But yeah, that's good
Yeah,
advice.
yeah,
Yeah, I've avoided those other seed oils, canola, vegetable oil, and all those. I avoided those. I stopped those a long time ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the advice. Well, every one of us is a consumer, and
Yeah,
we
thanks for that.
vote with our wallets, and the money we spend is an order to have it brought back, right? Like, so when you buy a thing, the manufacturer gets a vote for making it again. So start voting for things that are worth repeating. Start voting with your wallet in ways that feed you well. Mhm. Yeah, I I'm really upset with the government because they subsidize grains. There are huge agricultural subsidies on wheat, corn, cotton too, soy, and all that. That makes them artificially cheap, which turns them into artificially inexpensive food, which then people who are struggling financially buy more of, especially if you subsidize food stamps. So you're pushing money into the growing of the food. Now you're pushing money into the buying of the food, and now you're making people sick with that food, and you're pushing money into Medicare or Medicaid to try and fix it with chemicals that are not fixing it. The fix,
And it's in our hospitals, in our schools.
yeah,
It's like you're right, it's all connected.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a conspiracy.
Yes. I'm with you there.
All right. So
Yeah.
the advice, okay, be judicious with where you spend your money, be judicious with what you put in your mouth. Make sure that you are drinking clean water that's not chlorinated, properly structured if you can find it. Like
Yep.
for example, I have this bottle here. See these little rocks in the bottom?
Yes.
Those are
Yes.
ceramic pieces that help to structure the water to make it more wet.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one as well. I remember, not to get off topic, I remember doing research with some women that I group coach, and we were looking up the water online and what's in it. And you can look at the chemicals in the water, and it'll say leading cause of cancer. It was like cancer everywhere just from the water you drink, because that's another thing. People want to do better. They want to eat better. They want to live better, lose weight. They're going to give up their Coke and start drinking more water. But then their water's contaminated. Then you got the plastics. It's just this rabbit hole. Just keeps going deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
but we'll go
yeah,
back
with
to what you were
rising, yeah,
saying.
yeah, with
Yeah.
rising awareness, you could start feeling panicky because you're going to be aware of just so many things being not right.
Yeah.
But you can find your way through it. It's just
Yes,
like
you can.
climbing a
Just start.
mountain. You're
Mhm.
climbing a mountain. You will find a path, right? You need
Yeah.
to find the path.
Right.
There is one.
And that's why we're here, just to bring this awareness, but don't let that overwhelm stop you. This is an overview so people understand what's in store. But if you just start with the seed oils, those 5 things that you mentioned, that would be a great start. And then over time, start to get to know your metabolism, metabolic type, and all those other things we discuss.
Hmm.
So, really appreciate that. Anything else that you wanted to add to this amazing conversation?
No, I think this will do, right? That
Yeah, we
it
said a
doesn't
lot.
it doesn't take much effort, really. Like
Mhm.
when I do a consultation with a client, it usually takes an hour after they just go through the test, and then they're liberated. I remember this gal came to me with breast cancer and
Mm.
and overweight. And I explained to her after doing the test, here's how you're becoming acidic, here's how you gain weight. She was forced to eat roast beef for breakfast. She said, I'm so happy. The thing went into remission, and her body shape changed because she dropped all the weight, and she started feeling relaxed,
Yeah. Love it.
right?
See, that's what I'm saying. Oh my gosh. All right, you gotta let the listeners know how they can connect and really explore their metabolic type. You mind sharing that? And I'll make sure I have it in the show notes as well.
Right. The business is called Life Enthusiast. I think the name's kind of appropriate. Life-enthusiast.com. And if you type the word metabolic into the search box, it'll find it. And you can also get yourself a 15-minute free of charge health coach meeting where we will listen to you, tell us your story, and give you some highlights of what we think you should do first.
Excellent. All right, y'all, check the show notes for all that. So thank you so much, Martin Patella. Make sure I'm saying that correctly. Patella, correct? All right. I want to say people's names correctly. But I really enjoyed this conversation. I can easily go on another hour with you, but I believe this is a good start. And don't be surprised if I invite you on the show again, because I know people are going to
Right.
get back with me and just want to learn more. I really believe this
Yeah.
conversation is really going to cause more curiosity and
Yeah.
answer. I believe you have a lot of answers to what people are looking for. So thank you for taking the time to really share your story, metabolic typing, and the 4 pillars or the 4 causes of illness. And I mean, it's fascinating. I enjoyed this conversation.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
And
Thank
I
you.
want to thank the listeners so much for tuning in to this episode. And I really hope Martin's journey and insights help you see your own health challenges from a very new perspective. And remember, there is no one size fits all. And in this approach, it just doesn't work for healing. So when you honor your unique design, everything changes. The important thing, like we just said, is that you just start. If this episode resonated with you, don't forget to leave a review, share it with a friend, and subscribe so you never miss another empowering conversation. And if you're ready to seal the deal to heal, be sure to check out the resources in the show notes and keep healing, keep evolving, keep showing up for the healthier version of you. And until next time, take care. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the show, seal the deal to heal by leaving a review, subscribing to the podcast, and sharing with a friend. Thanks again, and we'll continue the journey next week.